Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I am, and I think we all are. Can you hear me? Very excited, very happy, and very honored to have these prestigious people here. I am planning a bipolar discussion, not only marketing, which sounds too commercial, but in the meantime, we should rather view maybe the creative side of the movies and their marketing, which are both very important because cinema, as all arts, needs creativity and creators. Without original inspiration, new ideas, and creative talent, it would endlessly repeat itself, get monotonous, and turn into a serial manufacturing. It needs authors, it needs creative people. A genius once in a while is also welcome. On the other side, we live in capitalistic societies where the marketing of the films gets more and more important, and without them, many films wouldn't be able to reach a certain audience. I would like to start with Marco Mueller. I had a whole biography of him, but my colleague already mentioned his importance, so I would like to ask them directly, what is creativity? How to distinguish creative films from the others, and how to try to make their marketing in these consuming societies.
Or even better still, how can you recognize creativity and how can you defend it? I mean,
yes,
in the current world ruled by marketing on behalf of major conglomerate groups, I would like to use an image that Terry has just given us a few minutes ago, because I think it's quite natural that we would refer to a lot of what Terry has been saying to all of us. He mentioned the fact that sometimes a crack opens, but that unfortunately that crack will be immediately filled and closed after a short time. So any event like this that can defend the necessity for a multiplicity of expressive phenomena, that can defend the necessity for the variety of different forms of creativity is absolutely essential, because otherwise how would you possibly stimulate the thirst and hunger for something different from what is playing? I mean, we are talking about films, so from what is playing in the theater near you. And I mean, we have to somehow position ourselves in time, in the sense that we now exist as we all who have something to do with the filmmaking process and the screening and the exhibition of films. I mean, we happen to be in the period when the cinema ended its first century of active development and gestation. And somehow, if you ask about creativity now, we have to understand that cinema has always been in the process of becoming something new, changing and adapting with each new circumstance and shift, both in technology, but also in society. And at the same time, there is no denying that the moving images are, in fact, like you just say, Attila, still controlled by moving images as a commercial medium, are controlled by a few conglomerates. And it's impossible, is it really impossible to work against those conglomerates? Is it impossible to use what technology has made public to various growing factors in sectors of the society? I mean, I think it is impossible to hold back the flood of images created by the new tools of moving image making, but somehow, because we've been given a topic, a theme, and I thought the most important thing is to try and understand how we can counter the fact that there is a global process stripping films of their artistic singularity. I mean, we all in films are sucked into an image machine geared to its own ends. You have written books about film, Turkish films, foreign films, we have reached a point where it's very difficult even to talk about countries, because countries have been replaced by major brands, and the tribes of filmmakers have become just a single multitudes. How can we retrieve what we have lost when the industry, I mean, the only way that industry can be understood now is serially produced objects. I mean, somehow what is given to us to consume is not any longer a coastly image of reality, but an image of the reality of the coast. So I think what is really precious is to try and insist on any opportunity that we are given to see that if cinema has continued to exist beyond the creation of every new kind of image, be it television, video, images that are consumed or can travel on internet, is because it has absorbed those new images into itself, and by doing so it has been transformed. So I don't think that what we call film will really continue to exist as we know it now for a longer time, but cinema will definitely do so, because it has actually thrived on the different expressive languages that were competing with it, and at the same time they have made it stronger.
So what can be the role of the festivals, both in backing the creative works and help the marketing?
Well, well, of course, it's a big question, because I mean, normally, I mean, when you think about any kind of major film event, or should I say cinema event, they are reduced to only two options. You know, the defense of whatever filmmaking would exist, for which the festival, the event, would be the window and the launch pad, and even worse, I mean, the possibility of continuing eternally to supply a willing surrogate for what is needed in the distribution information circuit as a response to an even stronger market censorship. But there is, of course, also another possibility. I mean, that from events like this, from a bigger event like the Venice Mostra, I mean, you have to see there that every time you must ask yourself, what is the origin, what was at the origin of the event? The original scene of Venice and on all the other film festivals that followed was to be a creation of the tourist organizations and the hotel and restaurant owners guild, that because they wanted to prolong the hotel high season, and by doing so they had to insist on a variety of offerings. They had to insist on a multiplicity of expressive phenomena, and by doing this they have actually opened the break that Terry was mentioning. And I think what is important is to use any form of organization of culture as a wedge, because if there is a crack that is presented, if you put a wedge in that crack, it will not close down that easily.
Thank you for the moment, Mr. Cinema. I consider you as Mr. Cinema of Europe. I don't know the States, it's another thing, but... So let's come to Kirsten, fresh from her victory in Cannes. She is among us, and we should be thankful to her for that. Is it okay now?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not used to this.
You have a tremendous filmography. I won't repeat it. My colleague read most of the films you played in. I would like to ask you first, how do you manage to act in big budgeted mainstream films, even blockbusters, and also independent productions of talented people such as Sofia Coppola or Michel Gondry? But let me tell you that when I say this, I don't consider all the blockbusters as bad movies and all the people directing them as being untalented people. Sam Raimi, for instance, is a director whom I like very much, but personally I would put A Simple Plan against all his other films. Nevertheless, he's very good. But I mean, how do you manage to to play in the indies films as well. How do you keep this balance?
I think I've been very fortunate. You know, the opportunity when Spider-Man came along, I thought it was such an independently spirited, bigger film because you had Sam Raimi obviously, and then you had Tobey Maguire, who had just done Wonder Boys and The Ice Storm, and so I knew that this was going to be a story first, and then all the other stuff to follow. And that film really gave me the opportunity to bring money for smaller films that followed. You know, when you have a value in foreign countries and people know who you are, they're willing to give more money and finance the films that are small and wouldn't get made. You know, so for me, they're very much interconnected, and for an actress, and I've been lucky to have many opportunities because of being in bigger films like that.
Do you think your name now would help to the production of an independent film? And would you take a risk to act in such a small budgeted, not very sure film of a newcomer, for instance?
Well, that was Sophia's first film, Virgin Suicides, and I, have taken many risks that none of you will ever see these movies ever. And we all have, as actors, done those where you're just, you have faith and you think it's going to be good, a good cast, and then it just ends up being, kind of embarrassing. So, there's plenty of those on my IMDb list. But yeah, you have to take those risks sometimes, and I was lucky enough to work with Lars von Trier recently, and yeah, most of those kind of films you don't get paid much money, and even I was in a film recently that I shot that's coming out, which was a very high concept film, so the entire budget went to the special effects of the film, but it was he's not a first time director, and he won Best Short at Cannes for his film. His name's Juan Solanas, and it was very small budget, but because all the movie was going to the film and what was to be created later. So, yeah, I haven't. That's why you do ad campaigns, and you find another way to support the people in your life.
What makes you happier, the box office of your last film, or some good reviews you would have?
It's always wonderful when people who see the film compliment you on your work, or are moved by your work. But for me, I had a moment recently with Lars's wife, and she was explaining to me this scene in the film that was, literally Lars and what he went through during his depression. And it's moments like that when she was so moved by and felt like she was living it again, but in a different way. And I think that's very cathartic, and I think that's what film has always meant for me, is an emotional experience and a new learning of something. And so yeah, reviews are great. It's amazing to be honored with awards. I've worked 20 years and I'm 29, so for me this was the biggest thing that has happened to me in terms of that. And so both are great, but it's always fulfilling when people really respond to what you do.
Yeah. You have good relations with Sofia Coppola. Is that why you accepted the role of Marie Antoinette, who is still someone so far from your and our epoch, and weren't you skeptical to try to enter into her character?
Yeah, I was nervous. I was 24, and I know it doesn't seem like a big age difference, but from 24 to 29, you change a lot. Like, you just do. And for me, it was such a huge undertaking and so nerve-wracking, because of the history. So Sophia based her script kind of on Antonio Fraser's novel, so we all read that version of the history of Marie Antoinette, but then, all I could do is kind of find an essence of who she was and what, I could bring and relate to in the way that I work and trying to portray her.
I would like to speak about Cannes, if you permit me, but let me make a small statement first of all. From start to finish, Kirsten Dunst kept her integrity, her personality, and her courage in this Lars von Trier affair. When von Trier lost control of his speech, I was there. I noticed that she kindly warned her with her looks and if I'm not wrong, even whispered something in his ear. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. Nevertheless, he kept on, and after the
And it
conference,
keeps going. Now my reactions. Yeah. I didn't know I'd be a YouTube sensation.
after the conference, she protested him together with Charlotte Gainsbourg, and she accepted to walk the red carpet in the evening, only after von Trier apologized. But, on the other hand, when you were on the stage to receive your award, you did not forget to thank your director. You mentioned his name, which you might easily not do. But as the festival did, you put a distance between the work itself and what the director might have said or done in a moment of weakness, and that was also very well made for me.
Thank you.
So, what would you think about all this unfortunate and still interesting Cannes event?
Yeah, it was a very emotional week. At one, what happened with Lars, now I know him in a very intimate way, and it was very inappropriate what he said, and you can't joke about things like that. And so I was very embarrassed for him, but he's my friend, and I care for him, and we worked very intimately together, and I could never have done the work I did without a director like him. I mean, he gives you so much freedom in a way that I've never worked before, and he's the reason why I could be so brave in a film and work with the type of actors I worked with, and thank you for people like Lars, because there aren't many filmmakers out there always having women be their stars and portray them in a way you don't really get those kind of roles.
What did he feel afterwards? Was he really very sorry for what he said?
Of course he was. He
He
was
was.
very embarrassed.
He
and
didn't mean it
apologized.
really, that
He
way
spent-
at least.
Yeah, he spent a day apologizing. Sorry to interrupt. But yeah, he spent a day apologizing to everyone. But yeah, one moment our film, we had our dinner canceled and the party canceled, and we were just waiting. I was like, okay, now the film's canceled.
And
I
he
was
left
waiting for
Cannes
that.
most probably, didn't he?
He left Cannes pretty soon. Yeah, after all that.
Did you expect this acting award with this film?
They tell you to come and that the film might get or the film will get something. So that's all they say. So you don't know, what the film's going to get.
Another question, to go back a bit in your career. You were still very young. I don't know how old you were. You refused the role in the successful film of Sam Mendes' American Beauty. And then, I think years after, you said that you didn't want to be kissed by Kevin Spacey. But still, you were kissed when you were only 12 by a vampire, actually. I don't know if it was your first screen kiss. I really don't know. By Brad Pitt, not less than by Brad Pitt, who was playing a vampire in that film.
Yeah, that was a stressful
What
day.
do you remember from that kiss?
I was like, oh, it's Brad. He was like an older brother to me, and I was really uncomfortable. And like, Neil Jordan, the director of the film, was like, don't worry, Kirsten, you just got a quick pack, just like really quick. So we kept doing it. I was like, he's like, can you stay a little longer? I was like, oh, it's so disgusting, Because at that age, how weird would it have been if I had been like, oh yeah, this is hot. I'm 12 years old. Like, that's so, yeah, that'd be really even stranger. So I reacted like any other 12-year-old, because at that point he was truly like my big brother. It wasn't. And
Big
then,
brother.
and then the other thing is kind of like one of those rumors that kind of just kept going about him. I don't even remember turning that film down or anything like that. It kind of was one of those things that just,
Yeah.
like a rumor mill kind of thing.
What is your next project?
I filmed this film Upside Down with Juan Solanas. That's hopefully going to be in a festival this year. And then also I did a small part in On the Road based on the Jack Kerouac novel. So hopefully that'll come out this year too.
There is a very classical question. We Turks, which we are a bit nationalist maybe, like very much to ask to every foreigner who steps to our country, and especially to Istanbul, how did you like Istanbul? But when I saw your picture on a paper from the night before, where you were trying yourself in belly dancing, I said that this is it. She liked this country. If she did the belly dancing, she must have liked this country and this home. Is that so?
No, it was so funny because I was sitting at the restaurant and nobody like knew I was there or anything. Me and my girlfriend are just eating, you know, all traditional Turkish food, and there were belly dancers. But then they kind of spring loaded on me at one point. Just everyone came over and there was photographers like taking my picture, and they made me get up, and I was so shy and nervous. I was like, what's going on? And then I talked to the guy. I was like, that's just for your restaurant, right? And then everyone's coming up to me. So I saw those pictures of you belly dancing. So.
Well, we have paparazzis too, of course.
Yeah, but it was like the guy in the restaurant. I was a little like, like caught off guard. Suddenly, I have tons of belly dancers on me. But it was a fun night, yeah.
Thanks for the moment. Maybe we'll make a second round. Evet, sevgili Nurgul Yesilcay, seni de tanıttılar. İngilizce mi konuşayım bilmiyorum. Maybe I should go on in English as well. She is our star. She may not be known well enough yet after our borders, after our frontiers, I mean. But to our hearts, she's a big star, Nurgul Yesilcay, and she made a certain number of very good films. She studied theater at the college, and she started with a very popular TV serial at the early 90s, I think, isn't it? Asmalı Konak, mid-90s. No, sorry.
Hangisi? Asmalı Konak'ta
evet.
ikinci bahar mı diyorsun?
İkinci bahar.
Ha.
And then she made, she had some very good roles by directors such as the late Atıf Yılmaz, the well-known German-Turkish director Fatih Akın, etc. So what would you tell us about this creativity and marketing relation and about the future of the movies? Çevirdiler, değil
Yaratım
mi?
süreciyle pazarlama ilişkisi
Arasındaki
arasında ne söyleyelim? Ya aslında önce şunu söylemek istiyorum. Sizlerle birlikte olmak çok güzeldi. Anlattıklarınız çok hoş şeylerdi. Ben de o kadar güzel şeyler söylemek isterim gerçekten. Ama sınırlı şekilde Türkiye ile ilgili bir şeyler söylemeye çalışacağım. Türkiye'de de aslında dünya sinemasından farklı değil pazarlama teknikleri. Aynı, yani bağımsız sinema bir tarafta büyük güçlerin elinde olan bir popüler sinema var. Aslında aynı. Zaten Marco Bey çok güzel açıkladı o durumu. O yüzden çok söyleyecek bir şey yok.
Sen filmlerini nasıl seçiyorsun, rollerini nasıl seçiyorsun? Senaryo mu önem taşıyor, karakter mi önem taşıyor? Çünkü iyi kadında oynadın, kötü kadında oynadın. Bunlar seni rahatsız etmiyor değil mi? İlla mahallenin iyi kızı diye bir şey yok tabii oyunculukta.
Hayır, öyle bir şey yok. Yani tabii ki yönetmene bakıyorsun. Öncelikle senaryoya bakıyorsun. Senaryo senin karnını ağrıtıyor mu? Ne bileyim, kalbinde
Ağrıtması
bir şey
lazım, değil mi?
Evet, ağrıtması iyi olur.
Ağrısız
Ya da
olmaz yani.
kalbini çarptırıyor mu? Bunu şiddetle oynamak istiyor musun? Önce ona bakıyorsun. Ondan sonra, yani ben şeye çok bakmıyorum açıkçası. Popüler sinema mı yoksa bağımsız sinema mı, böyle düşünmüyorum. Yani içimi gıcıklıyor mu oynadığım şey? Oynamak istiyor muyum bunu? Öyle bakıyorum. Ve iyi olmasını da sonra talep ediyorum.
Fatih Akın'la çalışmak nasıldı ve o yıl Cannes'da işte kırmızı halıda yürüdünüz, ben de oradaydım, onu da gördüm, resimlerinizi çektim. Bu nasıl bir deneyimdi?
Yani gayet hoş bir deneyimdi. Tabii ödül almak isterdim açıkçası.
Did you get it?
I'll show it to you. It's in my
I would
safe
like-
at the hotel. Take pictures with it.
Yok, teşekkür ederim. Ben alacağım.
Alırsın. It's a matter of time.
Şey güzeldi tabii, yani biz orada yarıştığımız zaman ben de favoriler arasındaydım. Ama olmadı. Çok sıcak bir yer ama bayrakların yarıştığı bir yer. Ben çok fazla hani saf sanat olduğunu düşünmüyorum açıkçası festivallerin ya da Cannes Film Festivali'nin. Bayraklar yarışıyor, marketing çok güçlü, herkes kendini göstermeye çalışıyor. Çok enteresan bir deneyimdi. Partiler falan, yani her şey çok büyüktü.
Evet.
Burada yaşadığımız şeyden kat kat büyüktü her şey. O yüzden güzel bir deneyimdi.
Seni en çok etkileyen rolün hangi filmdeki rolün oldu?
Çok politik bir cevap olacak belki ama bunu asla politik bir cevap olsun diye söylemiyorum. Ben hepsini çok isteyerek oynadım. Ve hepsinde oynarken çok keyif aldım. O yüzden hepsi farklı güzellikte bence.
Peki Kirsten Dunst senin için sevdiğin, izlediğin bir
Çok,
aktris mi?
çok, çok seviyorum. Gerçekten o yüzden.
I'm sitting right next to her. She has to say that.
You should create a mutual admiration society.
Gerçekten. Şeyi özellikle çok beğenmiştim. Eternal Sunshine. Eternal Sunshine'daki rolü
Eternal
ve,
Sun, evet, Spotless Mind.
ve Coppola'nın çektiği Marquis atlayacağım, ne alaka olacak?
Virgin Suicides. Marie Antoinette.
Ha,
değil mi?
Marie Antoinette.
Okay, we'll start the second round. In this,
Can I then ask you a question, starting from something that Kirsten has said? Because I think it's very important to hear an actress having a very precise tactics. I don't know if we can aspire to have a strategy now, but I mean, she has a tactic so that she will be affirmative about the kind of films she wants to see existing, you know, and very often, especially in the press, the media circles, there is a very defensive reaction, and there is always a way of, you know, extolling the artistic value of cinema, and I think we really have to get our hands dirty in the sense that we have to try and change the balance, and we have to work to warm our way up in the mercantile circles of cinema, not just the cultural, on the industrial side, not just the artistic. But my problem is, how can we do that when, you know, the editors of the arts pages in dailies, the film supplements, the people who take care of reporting about films on television, I mean, they want exactly the opposite. So, I mean, we cannot really do our work in the night when all those editors will be gray and blind.
well, it's a very delicate moment, of course, to look at it. When I look at it more generally, I think that there's a serious loss of cinema culture, as maybe the loss of general culture, so to speak. I remember once upon a time, in my time, when the names of creators such as Orson Welles or Joseph Losey were mentioned, young people would stand up and button up their coats, you know. Now nobody knows them practically. Even if they know, they don't respect it at all. Okay, Stanley Kubrick is still a master because he's very special. But besides him, none of the great authors of the past has survived the test of time from that point of view, from the popularity point of view. They're not as popular as they were amongst the young generations as it was in our time. Something is getting lost. The media, unfortunately, is, as you say, only commercial things, only films which are likely to please the audiences are defended, are mentioned, are talked about. The criticism is losing ground, that's very obvious. Fortunately, there are festivals, there are specialized magazines in every country, even in Turkey. But Sight and Sound is still published in Great Britain. Cinematographer or whatever, what was that American magazine?
Film Comment.
Three mensual, published every 3 months.
Film Comment.
Film Comment. Film Comment is still published. There are such places to continue the war, but I think we're losing it as well, really. Fortunately, there are indies, independent productions in every country. Fortunately, there are talented people. And fortunately, there are, in Turkey, they are increasing, for instance, cinema schools. So these all seem very contradictory, but our epoch is an epoch of contradictions. things are getting lost, but in the meantime, there are things which are bringing new hopes, aren't they? I don't know. There are DVDs, thanks to which it's very easy to get the old films, the classics at home now, which is something which didn't exist in our times. You have to find a cinematic or a midnight program at a TV channel to be able to see an old film. So there are good things, there are bad things, but they have to survive and they have to fight.
I actually have a good example of that. One of the directors I worked with, this guy Andrew Jarecki, he did this film All Good Things, which nobody really could see. It was bought by one company, and then thankfully he had the money. It was bought by the Weinstein Company, and it sat there for 2 years. And Andrew invented movie phone. You know, when you call up and you're like, which film would you like to see? So he invented that thing. So he could and sold it, but he could afford to buy his film back. But even buying it back and then Magnolia then distributing it, it played in one theater in New York. It's a big New York story. It stars Ryan Gosling, who's a major actor in the States. And, you know, it's, you know, even when you feel like you've made a good film, it's so difficult. It's so difficult. There's always something you're up against, you know? So I really, you know, now films going to TV, or it goes right to, you know, so many people I've talked to have seen All Good Things on demand in their hotel room, or
On demand,
you know,
yeah.
or on their television. So in a way, I'm happy that people saw the film and you know, they had the opportunity, but then it's taking it away from being in the actual cinema too.
Yes. It was mentioned in our press that you might participate to a film which will be a co-production between America and between Hollywood and Turkey. Is there such a thing?
Oh, a film that I'm going to be a part of?
Yes.
Oh no, I didn't hear that.
You didn't?
I'd be open to it, but I got no.
Someone maybe imagined it, I don't know. Now that you're in Turkey, is that impossible?
No,
To have
it's
an
not
offer, I
impossible.
mean.
Yeah, why not?
Evet, sevgili Nurgül, sen bu konularda, yani bu sinema kültürünün kaybolması ve işte öte yandan da DVD'ler, sinema okulları sayesinde sinema kültürünün de bir yandan da ayakta durması, ama basında da çok yer kaybediyor. Ciddi sinema haberleri, ciddi sinema eleştirileri, değil mi yani?
Yani ben Marco Bey'in söylediklerini gerçekten çok içtenlikle dinledim ve çok beğendim. Dünya büyük bir köy, hepimizin bildiği gibi şimdi o hale geldi. O yüzden herkes kendi farklılıklarını, kendi bildiği şeyi ortaya dökmeye çalışması lazım. Ve herkes kendi kültürünü koruması da lazım, sinemada özellikle. Ve yetenek daha ön plana çıktı. Çünkü teknik olarak hepimiz pek çok imkana sahibiz. Ama yetenek her zaman çok önemli ve bence şimdi daha da ön plana çıktı. Kim yetenekliyse o kazanıyor.